Hey everyone, and thank you for joining again. In this video I will show you how you can make this beautiful summer top here. It has these nice buttons and we work in linked double crochet and star stitch. The yarn that I used is this one here. These are the yarn details. And working with this yarn creates a super nice summerly fabric so that it's perfect for a summer top. As usual, I will link all the details you need in the video description. And we will work with a 2.5mm hook, but I will write this in the video description as well. We start with our tape measurement and place it over our shoulder to check where our top should end. Now this tells me that my side panel needs to be 96 centimeters long. So as usual, we start with our slip knot. And then we chain until we reach the length that we just measured. So for me, I will chain until I reach 96 centimeters, which are 267 chains for me. It is important that you have an uneven stitch number for your chain, and we will need 2 for the turn. Now I already started with the side panel, so I show you on this little swatch here what we will do. You draw a loop through the second loop from the hook, through the third. Now you have 3 loops on your hook. Yarn over, pull through the first 2, yarn over, pull through the last 2. Now this loop here is the one where we draw the first loop and then draw the second loop through the next chain. Again, you have 3 loops on your hook, yarn over, pull through the first 2, yarn over, pull through the first 2. And this is the linked double crochet stitch. And again, draw the first loop below this loop here. The next loop through the chain. Yarn over, pull through the first 2, yarn over, pull through the last 2. This is the linked double crochet. And your linked double crochet stitch count should also be an uneven number when you finish the row. Let's do it together again. And close. You go on like this until the end of the row, and as I said, your stitch count then has to be an uneven number. And this is how the row looks like. Then chain 2, every linked DC row starts with a chain 2. Then pull through the second chain from the hook, pull through the first stitch, and you are in the linked DC pattern again. Now, as you can see here, we already made 2 rows linked double crochet, and we will now make the star stitch. And the star stitch always consists of 2 rows as well. And to start the star stitch row, the first star stitch row, we chain 3. And then starting in the second chain from the hook, we draw a first loop, a second loop, a third loop, and another loop, and the last loop, until we have 6 loops on our hook. Then we yarn over and pull through all of these loops and close the star. Now the following stars will be done like this. You poke in the middle of the star, below the last leg of the star, in the same loop like the last leg, and in 2 further stitches. Again, we have 6 loops on our hook, yarn over, pull through all of them, and close. Now the next star, poke in the middle of the star, poke in below the leg, poke in the same loop like the leg, right? And in the next 2 loops. Pull through all the loops on your hook and close. And again, poke in the middle of the star, below the leg, in the same loop like the last leg, and in the next 2. 6 loops on your hook, pull through all of them, and close. And we quickly work together until the end of the row. Six loops on your hook and close. And this is the last star of the row. So you see it's pretty fast to work, and both stitches are very quick growing. So these are the last 2 loops. Six loops on the hook, yarn over, pull through all of them, close. Now at the end of the star stitch row, you do the following. You poke in the middle of the star, poke in the last stitch here, in the same stitch like the last leg, and close these 3 loops like a double crochet. This is your first star stitch row. Now turn around, and without making a chain or anything, you go on and make 2 half double crochet in each star stitch middle. So I didn't make a chain for turn or anything, just turn around and directly go on with the half double crochets in the star stitch middles. And in between the star stitch half double crochets, you also don't make a chain or anything, but just go on with half double crochets. And this is the last one. Now you have the middle and this last loop here. You go on and make 2 half double crochet in the middle, and you end the row with a slip stitch in this loop here. This here. Slip stitch. Now this is our star stitch rows, and now we will make 2 half double crochet linked double crochet rows again, which means we chain 2, turn around, and now we do the linked double crochet again. It's important that you don't skip the slip stitch here, but the second pull through loop is through the slip stitch, and then you are in the known pattern of the linked double crochet again. Now this is how it then looks like. You always make 2 linked double crochet rows, then 2 star stitch rows, 2 linked double crochet, then the 2 star stitch rows, and so on. And you go on working in rows until your shoulder is as wide as you like. For me, it's 14 rows. This is how my top looks like at the moment. So my shoulder is covered, and I now just place a stitch marker where I want my back panel to end. If you want a lower back, just place your stitch marker a little lower. So as you can see here, I just tried it on and now set my stitch marker. It's important that you keep the 2 sides of the top on the same level, and you have to make sure that you marked an uneven stitch number. So if your stitch marker is placed in an even stitch, then just move it up or down by 1 stitch. And now we just work in rows and stop and turn when we reach the stitch marker. My next row is the first star stitch row, and here it might be a little tricky to stop and turn, so we will do this turn together. So as you can see here, the last star leg is in the marked loop, and now I just make my ending stitch of the star stitch row here in this stitch marker stitch. Then turn around and now go on with the 2 half double crochet in every star stitch. When your back panel is wide enough, this is how it looks like. So when I try it on, it should reach the other side of my neck. And in total I made, let me quickly look it up, 27 rows for my back panel. And I think I didn't say that it had 123 stitches per row. Now, if this is our top, it's always the first DC and the first star stitch row that are done towards our neck. You can't end with the first star stitch row because you have to close the star stitch. So you should make sure that you end with the first linked double crochet row. And then you do the following. You count the stitches on the other side. On the other shoulder panel, then do the same number of chains, they should have the same length now. It's easier to show it to you on this little swatch. And then you add 2 chains for the turn, and then go back with a linked double crochet row. And then you go on working in rows until you have the same number of rows like on the other shoulder panel. Now, if it doesn't work at all for you to end with the first linked double crochet row, you do the following. You cut the thread like I did here. Then you attach it here at the front again. And then chain in the same number like you have on the other shoulder panel. Pull the thread through. and then attach the thread here again. One and two chains, pull through the first chain. Now pull through the same stitch like where you attach the thread, and then you are in the known pattern again. So this is just a workaround if it doesn't work at all for you to end in the first linked double crochet row, because it's just easier, because you can then just go on there with the chains. Now if it doesn't work at all, this is what you can do. And then you again just work in rows until you have the same row number like on the other shoulder panel. Now this is how my top looks like now. This is the back panel. This is how the shoulder panels look like. And here you can see that I had to end with 3 linked double crochet rows, because the same row number would have meant that I would have to stop on the first star stitch row. So I decided to make just another linked double crochet row instead of having half a star stitch row. And here you can see that I just see where I want my armhole to be, how high up my side panel should be. Just see where you would like the side panel to end, and then again set your marker there. And for the side panel, it's also important that you have an uneven stitch number. And now again, we just work in rows until the side is closed. And to do so, I cut my thread here. This is again a close-up of my 3 linked double crochet rows. Cut the thread here. And the reason why I attach the thread again is that if I would go on working instead of cutting the thread, that my star stitch would be in the other direction. So I cut the thread and now attach it here again, so that my star stitches are in the same direction like in the other rows. And I make 1, 2, 3 chains, like for a normal start for a star stitch row. And now start with the first star stitch. Here again, it's important that you pull through the same loop where you attach the thread. Then you have 6 loops on your hook again. Pull through all of them and close, and you are in the known star stitch pattern again. So you can see they are in the same direction. Now I made, let me quickly look it up, 11 rows, and each row consisted of 73 stitches. And to see if the size is fine, I now try it on. and see if this already fits. And I think I have to make another row here because you saw this little gap there. So I added another row, and this is how the top looks like now. The sides are now placed right side on right side. And we will now use slip stitches to sew them together. So left side is outside here, right side on right side. Now to connect the both sides, I chained one here, and you will always poke in the 2 stitches that are placed next to each other on the both sides. This is how it looks like. Yarn over and pull through all the stitches on your hook. Here I was considering if I should make a single crochet, but I decided that I make a slip stitch. So you poke in, yarn over, and pull through all the loops on your hook. Then again, poke in, and you do that along the whole side panel. In the end, you then just cut the thread and pull it through, and I always leave the end loose until the top is finished, because if you don't weave it in, so this is where you stop there, if you don't weave the end in, you can always open the top up again and add a few rows in the worst case. So I always leave the weaving until the very end. And then you do the very same on the other side, so that you get this shape here. Now all we have to do is again take our stitch marker and see where we want our front to end. And again, we just mark the stitch here, make sure that it is an uneven stitch number, and then work in rows for the front panel. So my front is 85 centimeter per row. To see how many rows you have to make, just grab the buttons that you would like to use and see how wide your button panel should be. I think mine should be around about 5 centimeter. So I already made a few rows here, and in the middle there should remain the 5 centimeter for the button panel. Now you just work in rows until you reach these middle 5 centimeter. And then repeat the same on the other side, so that 5 centimeter in the middle remain. If you want to have a more precise approach, you just take the measure from side panel to side panel at your widest point. So from there to there, which is 25 centimeter for me, roundabout 25 centimeter, measured at my widest point. Now I deduct the button panel, which was 5 centimeter. And now I know that I have 10 centimeters for both sides. So I took the measure, which was 25 centimeter, deducted the button panel, which was 5 centimeters, so I was left with 20 centimeter in total. Divided by 2 tells me that I have to make 10 centimeter per side. So I finished the first side. Now take the measure again, check where the second side will end, and if in the middle there indeed remains round about 5 centimeter. Yeah, looks good. Now, to go on with the button panel, I chained until I reached 5 centimeter, which were 15 chains for me. Now I add 2 for the turn. And starting in the 3rd chain from the hook, I go back with half double crochet. This is how it looks like. And at the end of each row, you pull the closing loop through the main part. So I poked in the main part, and now do it again. Start like a normal half double crochet, then poke in the main part and pull the closing loop through the main part and then through all the loops on your hook. Then slip stitch through the next stitch of the main part and a second slip stitch through the main part, and then turn around and go on working half double crochet. At the end of the row, you chain 2, turn around and go back, and always connect the last stitch of the row with the main part of the top. And you go on like this, working in rows until you reach the end of the top. This is how it looks like then. And I have 2 stitches left here, which is fine. But now imagine you have just 1 stitch left here. So I have 2 stitches, but we imagine there's just 1 left. So I just have this one here left now. I will just slip stitch once, if this was the case, turn around, and then make 1 row of single crochet. So if you have just 1 stitch left, you end with a single crochet row. Now I open this up again because I can end with a normal half double crochet row here. So this is the second slip stitch, turn around, and then half double crochet. And this is our first front panel. And now you do the very same on the other side. 85 stitches for 16 rows, and then start with this button panel and then we do the buttons together. So as I said, this is the second side panel here, my finished 16 rows, and I made the first row of the button panel. And to see where we have to make the buttonholes now, we just grab our buttons and place them where we like. So they're always in the middle of the row. I made the first button in row 7 from the top, and then in row 20, 33 and 46. So I have a little smaller edge to the top. Now you count the rows where your buttons are placed and write the row numbers down for the buttons. Then the second thing you need is you check how wide your button is. So count the stitches, how wide your button is. For me it is 5 stitches. And what we will do now is in every row where we want to make a buttonhole, we skip the number of stitches that we just counted. So my button is 5 stitches wide, which means I have to make 5 chains, then skip 5 stitches, and then go on with half double crochet in stitch number 6. Then you work a few half double crochet, and I always recommend now the row is finished, and I always recommend that you try if the buttonhole is indeed in the right size. This is how it looks like. Now you just see if you can squeeze the button through it, and if it is not too wide so that it will just fall out. And if this is the case, if everything is fine, you just go on working in rows and do the other buttonholes in the row numbers that you wrote down. And that's it. This is how you make this beautiful summer top here. I hope you like it, and if you like the tutorial, please give me a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel.